No,
go in.
I just wanted to kind of set the stage here. Um, the idea of the time capsule came from Pram, so I don't know if we would have stumbled on the idea without her, but yeah, so um, but our ideas have been shifting a little bit about its character, and with Shauna's space flight, it occurred to me that maybe we want to have some memorabilia from that. Yeah, but I think um, all of us have kind of a stake in this, and there are many ways it could go. Uh, could have many components. Um, yeah, you can think about the conforming time capsule, which is kind of meeting usual expectations, and the non-conforming time capsule. So certainly my four-car garage space and the life-size cutouts, that's not found in anybody else's time capsule, sort of. So it sort of doesn't conform, you know. So it would make sense in a way if we want to have those cutouts in a time capsule, they can have their own thing. Yeah, so because they're gigantic compared to the size of things you usually put in a time capsule. Well, why don't we go forward? So why don't you put up your slideshow and tell us your current thoughts?
For sure. So I'll get this up here. Hold on. I'll go share. Oops, present. There we go. Okay, so essentially we've been thinking about this time capsule for quite a while now. I think I did this in my third year of undergrad, like had the idea for it. So it's been a good like 2 years since. So we've had a lot of ideas kind of bounce off between different years. And so we'll be talking a bit about what we have decided on for now, and then we'll also give you guys the chance to give your input and also share any contributions you'd like to make to the time capsule. So yeah. And so the idea for this kind of came about from talking about like the technological singularity, how rapidly technology is developing, how rapidly AI is developing, and kind of the idea that by 2045 or in 20 years or so, we might even reach the technological singularity. So essentially, a lot of the items we see here today and rely on, like our phones, etc., can be totally different and kind of seem antique by that stage. So it'd be interesting to kind of have a little box or kind of storage unit of things that we think will really change in the next 20 years, just so then when we look back, we can see if we were right or not. And so up here we have Dr. Solez's attic or above his garage, like just kind of big space where we can store these items. And I think one of Dr. Solez's kids, I believe, is it Kevin, Dr. Solez, that lives there right now?
Yes, they don't live there at the moment, but they have lived there in the past. And I think his daughter is likely to live there when she's going to university here. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. So definitely like staying in touch with Kevin and his family throughout this is important. But essentially, we do have a wide range of sizes for things. So as Dr. Sola said, there's some life-size cutouts that we want to include, but that would probably be stored a little bit separately from all of the items that we'll be putting into the box. And so right here is just an image of a storage unit that we got a lot of items from. I think also like a summer or 2 summers ago. I don't exactly remember. And so we have some things going on from there. I know Dr. Solez, if you've ever been to his office, he has like just a bunch of really cool antique items. So yeah, just making it unique is pretty important. So essentially, in terms of timeline, as I said, we're planning to open it in January of 2045. Again, subject to change, just based on how things go with the development of new technologies in AI. But for now, that's the date we've set. Um, and sorry. And then as in terms of like logistics, just thinking about like waterproofing and if you're like putting things into the box, like can it last a span of 20 years? That's important to consider as well. And then in terms of also creating just like online videos or things that you want us to potentially store like virtually, that's also another idea, just because it'd be fun to look back on it as well in 20 years. And then in terms of openness to other students, if you have people that you think would be interested in storing something, or people in other classes or something that you could talk to, definitely let me know. I haven't developed a QR code yet, but that could be something I could do. And then also in terms of just ideas that we've kind of talked about already, just like popular books that are currently talking about technology or things that are going on right now. The life-size cutouts that you saw before, suture kits, just things that we use in medical schools or that doctors use, which could be totally outdated in 2045. I know you guys had a session with VR. I don't know if actually you had it or not, but we had it when in my year, but like that could be the new thing that people use, and suture kits could be totally outdated. Things like iPhones, old iPhones, if you have any. Even art was brought up. I think that's also really important. Art and poetry, how that can change in 20 years. And yeah, just things about like pop culture, things like that are just some of the ideas that have circulated. And I know last year's class brought materials in to put into the time capsule. And then if you guys are able to bring things in person to Dr. Solez, that would be awesome. And so now I'll open the floor to everybody else. But first, I'll ask if Dr. Solez has anything to add about the time capsule.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good summary. Um, the students in previous years have like put together little books of their writing and stuff like that. So um, I guess just accidentally, I don't think this class has anything necessarily prepared for the time capsule. Am I wrong about that, or what do you guys think? Do you what would you like to see in it? Are the things you would personally like to contribute to it? Uh, are you enthusiastic and invested in the idea, or sort of in between? What are your thoughts, the five of you that are here? Jessica? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the time capsule like idea is really cool. I think personally what I would like to see in it or like what I would like to add in it is like I guess quote unquote stuff that's relevant to today, whether that's like pop culture or like music, so like either like albums or like possibly like books too. I think personal journals could also be pretty cool as well, but I think if we add stuff that's not like mainly relevant today, but does correlate with today, I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, we have some personal journals from the fall 2024 class. Um, so that's one component. And yeah, any other thoughts? Caitlin?
I don't know if this has already been included. As Jessica said, I think this is a really cool idea. Has there been like game consoles or anything along like those lines added in? Because I know we briefly talked about VR, but yeah.
No, we haven't talked about that. I think that's a very good idea. Uh, yeah. And Janine, what thoughts did you have?
I definitely agree with the personal journals one. I don't know why, when I was thinking of the time capsule, the first thing that popped into my mind was almost explaining where I am today and what my life is like today. And then in 20 years, hopefully seeing like, oh, how different am I? Were my expectations, like, for example, if I place like expectations about what I want to look like in the future, are they realistic? Things like that.
Yeah, yeah. So, so yeah,
Yeah, I was just gonna add, I think I really like the idea of putting in like current sci-fi books or movies, like our predictions about the future, and see how that aligns with the actual future.
yeah. Caitlin, your hand is up.
Yeah, I just had a secondary question. I'm just wondering how much outreach we've done for this project because I know like it's kind of been discussed in class before, but like is there any like strides we've done to like talk to other classes about it? Because I feel like we could have a really good connection to maybe I know there's one course at the university where they make video games, so it's possible that we could put that on a drive and send that in a time capsule in like future years. Um, and yeah, like even incorporating maybe like more English classes and making that an assignment for them as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very good idea. We also need to think about the Calgary Edmonton side of this. Pram has kind of decided that her future is in Calgary, and she's University of Calgary medical student now. Um, so I think she'd like to see it in Calgary. Um, but you know, it I think it's not too much of a tragedy for the Edmonds people if the main time capsule is in Calgary. I think that Pram has done some promotion of the idea in Calgary, I think. You want to tell us about that and how that's going?
Yeah, so mainly amongst fellow medical students, just people bringing in, having the idea of bringing in like blood pressure cuffs, like the current ones you use, like the manual ones, suture kits, basically just like everyday tools we use, especially since this is like a medical technology class. I think that would be really fun and interesting to have. And beyond that, I think it would be good to reach out to maybe like engineering classes, just because I feel like we are pretty like medical focused in terms of the people who are in this class or the people who are in my class right now. But yeah, like reaching out to comp sci kids, seeing if we can get something like on a drive or something, just to see how much that changes, especially with ChatGPT and stuff, how much code changes, things like that. That would be a good like new perspective to have on things. So I can definitely do some more outreach in terms of that. So really good ideas going around. But yeah, anything else, Dr. Solez, that you were thinking about in terms of outreach?
Yeah, I think that the connection to Shauna, I think maybe that is related to the paper that you would like to write, right? That it would be natural if you end up writing a paper about space medicine that involves Shauna or me and Shauna, then it makes more sense to maybe think about stuff from her flight. But the fact that she knew about this conversation today, she's never actually said that, she would see to it that there were things from her flight that we could use for the time capsule and so on. So I don't want to push it too much. I think it will kind of evolve naturally, and similarly, the timing of exactly when we start it. If it looks like there's no reason to wait for 2026, then 2025 to 2045 makes more sense in terms of the history here, and that we always thought that 2045 was the number most people understood of when the singularity would most likely occur. So yeah, so I think we can leave that up to Pram's judgment of how things are going. And maybe Shauna has a conflict today and wasn't able to be here, but wanted to, there are all sorts of possibilities there. Also, I don't know how her flight will probably be relatively short. I don't know how many memorabilia things will be. She might want to keep them, right? She might not want them in a time capsule. She might want them in her home or something. So, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to figure that out. And I think that it would be good wherever the main time capsule is for the people in charge there to kind of officially acknowledge it. So if the main time capsule is going to be in Calgary, it would be good if, like, the leadership of the hospital where it is or whatever have approved that it would be there. And maybe they would even provide partial funding for it. I don't know. So you might not have to come up with a full cost that they thought it was a really cool idea. Yeah, but it would likely cost something, right? So probably wouldn't be an enormous sum. But the two ways to think about the cost, the stuff you need to purchase, but also if space within the hospital is being devoted to this, that's sort of another cost, right? That space itself is worth something. So I think that that's sort of up to you and how the negotiations with the Calgary people go. What I would say is the interest from the Edmonton side is completely unofficial thus far. Nobody who's a leader here has ever said that they wanted it here or objected to being in my 4-car garage because they wanted it here or something. There hasn't been any statement like that. What about the people we haven't heard from? Barbara, what are your secret thoughts about this and stuff?
Yeah, I was wondering two things. One about like what kind of reference about music are there? Because like there's been a lot of evolution in terms of music because we've been from kind of CDs and then now we are using a lot of Spotify and before CDs there were vinyls, I guess. So if we can put something like that, it will be cool. And now we are using much more like recorded stuff. So even in the light of adding some recordings or video recordings, maybe we can record something as a class to like as a 2025 class. I don't know, something like that.
Right.
Then
No, that's another thing that's interesting. I invited more people to this Zoom today than I've invited in a long time. I went back to all the students from previous years who, since we started talking about this, and yet nobody from our previous class came. So that doesn't rule them out as players in this, but it at least makes it more equal. It makes it seem like you guys, the winter 2025 class, can have as much influence as those previous classes. And yeah, it's sort of interesting. As some of you know, Caitlin has been quite good with outreach, going to speak to other classes about the course. And there was one class that she went to speak to where 3 of the students she spoke to signed up for the course, but they all did it for fall 2026, not winter. So far for winter, we have mainly graduate students. As far as I know, we don't have so many undergraduate students. But anyway, whatever happens, that will be interesting. Yeah. So, but sorry, no, I have that wrong. What I meant to say is none of them are fall 2025 of the students who signed up because of Caitlin. They're all winter 2026. So I don't know much about the fall 2025 class, except that there will be one. That's all I know. So I guess one thing to say is that I can be the recipient of things that you would like to see in the capsule. And it's not terribly urgent, except that the longer we wait, you might forget or something. So if you're enthusiastic about it, maybe you should bring me something soon or whatever. And yeah, just we can organize that. I've enjoyed having the 7 of you. It seems to be a good number, including the 2 that aren't here. Yeah. So anyway. So Pram, how do you feel about Shauna's part of it? Uh,
Yeah, I'm planning to reach out to her actually for my aerospace medicine club as well. So I'm thinking even if she doesn't have any like memorabilia from the space flight itself, like something from her training even, or just going to any of the headquarters would be just so awesome to include. I also realized there's like a AI in medicine club at my school as well who I can talk to, and then also my aerospace med interest group just to see if anybody has anything from those sectors to add, just because yeah, the course is revolved around those things. But yeah, definitely in an email, or if she does end up coming to speak at any of my events, I could maybe ask her in person as well. But yeah, I'm also really excited about the ideas that everyone came up with. I think if you guys maybe set like a time or a day that Dr. Solez can be at ECA, and maybe anyone who's bringing something in can let him know if you guys are like dropping something off, like that would be really cool, just to make sure that we do end up getting some of these things that you might want to contribute into the capsule itself before summer break starts. I know that's like a fun time and people might be moving around then. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. do you guys have another class or is this the last one?
No, this is the last class today. Yeah. So there's another kind of contact, classroom D is sort of like the best classroom here in the medical school. And we're now having kidney pathology rounds there most Fridays at 1 o'clock. And then there's nephrology grand rounds from 12 to 1. So if there, and I'm sort of in charge of that with one of the nephrologists, Alina Babir. And so that's another thing. If some of those sessions interested the students, then they could come there and give me the stuff there. Classroom D is fairly easy to find. If you don't know where it is, almost everybody knows where it is. So yeah, it's sort of right across from the dean's office, and there is an escalator that comes up to that area. So it's pretty easy to find. And my office, there's a video telling you how to find my office. It's a little bit challenging. Also, it's a funny video because it's from 2011. It's really directions to a very different office, but a similar location that we've now modified. We're still using that 2011 video to give people directions to my current office. So yeah. So there are many options. I could go to ECHA. Yeah. And I could meet everybody there. Yeah. I think whatever you guys want would be fine. Yeah. And so any other questions or yeah, I think any of you who wish, like Caitlin, if you wish to push the idea, probably Pram could even send you the PowerPoint that she used today, and then you could go around to classes here and talk to them about it and see what things they would like to put in the time capsule. Yeah, Jessica gives us a thumbs up. Okay, well, it's only 2:30. So it's kind of cool that we had such an efficient conversation that we finished in a half hour. But anyway, Pram, thank you very much for the thoughts you've put into this and for your Calgary negotiations about it. And I guess I'd say one other thing, that there's an error some of you have witnessed from me, that I used to tell you that banners, the place where we got all those cutouts made, no longer exists. But that's not true. They've moved and they're bigger and better. So if anybody has a hankering to get a cutout themselves, we could even do that. So that's still possible. If you just have a good picture of yourself that you would like made into a life-size cutout, we need to know your height, how tall you are. That's about the only thing. We need a picture and your height. And yeah, we could do that. And then you yourself, a representation of you could be in my 4-car garage component of the time capsule. Yeah, Jessica Lee is crying yeah, with joy, I think, with that idea. Yeah. So anyway, that can still happen because banners still exist and they're a very good source of coroplast cutouts. Okay, I think that's it. You've all got other things to do. I'm reachable. I'm not going to be gone very much in the summer, and the course starts again in the fall, and then you will find me easy to track down. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jeanette. That's nice for you to say. Yeah. Okay, and if any of you haven't sent me your paper, please do that. The paper is due today. I think all of you have, but I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
is it today? Because on the what is it? Web page, I saw 11th of April. That's why I didn't send it because I was finished it.
Yeah. No. It should be today that it's due because this is the last class day, and yeah,
Okay.
it is
Okay.
supposed to be due today, and the sooner I have everybody's paper, the sooner
Yeah. Yeah.
send in
Sounds
the
good.
grades, and that's good for everybody. So, yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. I'm glad we clarified that. Okay, Pram, thanks again very much for joining us and for having this idea in the first place. And yeah, we'll stay in touch and make it happen. Yep. Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.